is Hannibal Pacheco, and I'll be your quote-unquote facilitator for social media. Since this is all about hacking, I decided I was going to hack it. So here I am. So let's talk about social media. How do you use it in the classroom? What is it doing for you? How can you teach your students about social media? You know, how can you teach your students about responsible use of social media? So who want to get started? Who want to get this topic started? You look like you got a lot to say. Go ahead, tell me.
I don't use it in the classroom, but I teach a lot of people about how to use social media smartly and effectively to enhance learning. And then a lot of educators have they use social media to really increase their professional learning network and whatnot. So I'm more interested in how you guys are using it in the classroom, really the state of filters right now. Are you able to kind of navigate that barrier? And where do you see it going, too?
How about you, Cyberman? What do you want to tell us about social media?
I'm very concerned with students not using social media properly. And I don't think we as teachers, as parents, as educators, we're not working with the parents to show students how to use it properly for educational purposes.
Okay.
To help teach our parents, because a lot of parents, they're very well meaning, but they don't have a clue. They have no idea. They're just completely befuddled by this whole social media thing. And I'm going to give a shout out to Kevin. I'm stealing your quote. He just gave a great quote in the previous session about how kids are now playing on a digital playground without recess supervision. And I just love that. Isn't that a great quote? Thank you, Kevin. But that is so true, and it's the same thing. That's why it's so incumbent upon all of us who understand how to use social media to teach other people how to use it properly, not just students.
Well, the same thing happened. This conversation we had just a while ago about being globally connected. It starts with the educator. You have to be using social media yourself so that you can help your children and the students navigate those waters. So if you're not part of the social media networking system, how are you going to properly supervise kids doing it?
Annabelle defines social media. I think it means different things to different people, and it means different things to different educators. And some educators hear the term tossed around, and they're very uncomfortable about actually saying what I just said. What is social media? So it would be great to define it, because as we define it, then we're able to, as far as I'm concerned, learn to harness it. And then when we, as Susan said, as educators, learn how to do that effectively and enthusiastically, then the power of using that with our students and then sharing it with parents happens. But if we don't really know what social media is, and we're floundering. So I think I'd love to hear what others deem as what is social media. So if you know what it is and you've defined it and have some sense of it, then I think you can really move forward and really harness it.
And this guy told me, hey, are you on Twitter? And I was like, no, I'm not on Twitter. Are you crazy? That's just for gossip and people talking about all these movie stars and stuff. But then as I was traveling back to Kansas, I said, you know what? Let me see how I can use this to connect with people and actually make it meaningful. So I made some rules for myself. Number one, I don't talk about, that I'm walking my dog or I'm eating some ice cream or all these other things that people are talking about. I just try to tweet stuff about things that teachers can use. I tell the reluctant teachers, and this is my sell on it, like Kevin, I think it was the one that said this, if the students are on Twitter, then you should be on Twitter. And I tell teachers, hey, you don't have to tweet. If the only thing that you do is just lurk on Twitter and follow Adam Bello, Tech Talk Ninja, Susan Power, Cyberman, Lisa, and all these other people that's been on Twitter for a long time, that right there will be more professional development than you'll ever dream about having. You don't have to follow this every day. So the third trick that I'll give you is make lists. Make some lists of the people that you want to follow, that you consider the people that is providing you the information that you need. And that way you reduce the noise, because that's the problem that I think turn off a lot of teachers, especially on Twitter. They see that feed and they say, wow, there's no way that I can manage this. So you create your list, and that way you start following the people that you want. The fourth thing is create a hashtag. Create a hashtag for your class. Because with a hashtag, that adds relevance to the topic that you teach for your students can follow you on that hashtag, and when you add that to a list, now you have a total management system for free, because you can start tracking what your students are posting to that hashtag, and you can start tracking on those lists what they're saying about the subject.
Students, I teach 4th grade, and the way I get them started every year is in Edmodo. I use Edmodo as my learning management system. In Edmodo, the kids can message the teacher or the whole group. There is no student-to-student messaging in Edmodo. So I teach all my digital citizenship lessons through that, all my etiquette lessons through Edmodo. And so our year starts out, we're a closed little walled garden, just our classroom. And then as they learn their lessons, we invite another 4th grade class in, and then I invite some other people in. Then we start doing Skype calls, and I have a Skype collaboration group on Edmodo, so that I send that group code to the other teachers we're Skyping with. Their kids can start talking with my kids there, use Today's Meet, or different other forms of social media that come. But it's got to be small, incremental steps, especially with the young ones, to really get them to understand how it works and how to interact properly in the social environment.
That's a very good point. You have something you want to say?
I've got a page on etiquette and stuff.
I was interested in what the lady was saying here.
Paul and all, sorry.
Because I was in the previous discussion a while ago regarding how it is with the environment of like 21st learning, and I shared that it came all the way from Guam.
Oh wow!
We mirror what the mainland is doing, what the success story of the schools are doing. It's kind of interesting because we handle like 8 to 8 in a middle school setting, and we're still in the dark ages of technology. I handle technology, but then I have to restrict all these social media sites because for parents and for teachers and even for administrators, this is something that is opening a Pandora box, like opening all these bad things, opening all this. But then hearing success stories can eventually help me convince and let them realize that there is more to it than learning that it's a Pandora box. Thank you.
Well, I think the key of it boils down to teaching personal responsibility and individual accountability for what it is that's going on in social media. And the teachers themselves have to do it. It starts with the teachers, and then the teachers have to actually move forward and transmit that message.
One of my funniest things is when you get the parent emails, they want you to email them now, they're trying to get into that. Have you ever looked at their address names and stuff?
That's
oh my goodness, they want me to send an email to Jazzy Pants number 101.
Well,
seriously?
and you brought up a very good point, because as much as we hear people talking about branding, it is about branding. It is about who you are as a person. So one of the things that I tell teachers is to tell their students, hey, this is what's going to follow you for the rest of your life.
College and get
exactly.
applications through social media. And
they're
going to be Google. Are they Googleable?
Yeah, you said it right. You said it right.
And with the social media, there's so many ways to use it with kids, but I think educators are missing out on it too. Because I know for me, social media, I use it for, honestly, I use it for very selfish reasons. Because I learned so much from everybody that I would never, like there's so many people here today that I have been friends with online. I'm getting to meet them in person. And it's like, oh my gosh, I've known you forever. We just talk and talk. But even now at this conference, I know that I don't have to take any notes. I can just constantly be sharing my things out with the hashtag, and then later I'll just go search the hashtag. And then I have all my stuff there.
There you go.
So it's very, I try to help other educators get online, and not so just they can learn, but I want them to get online and participate, because then I get more ideas. Like I said, it's honestly for very selfish reasons, because the kind of classroom that I built this year and the kind of educator I saw myself become this year is completely because of social media and the networks I was able to build with administrators, superintendents, all these people that I would never have the chance to interact with in real life.
And now they know.
Exactly.
Twitter, I had a Twitter account, I didn't know what to do with it. So then I just lurked forever, and then, oh my goodness, I've met all these wonderful people, and I've learned so many resources, and I would have never spoken in a group like this ever, but here I am. Wonderful.
Anybody a social studies teacher
cover social studies. Anybody teach Civil War? Have you been following the U.S. government team on the Civil War reporter on Twitter that has links to primary source material, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? I believe that it's Civil War, but without the I. And it's Civil War Reporter. It is amazing. So sometimes there are those wonderful things there as well that are great curriculum basis teaching.
We have a large district, and our lawyer is heavily involved with blocking Facebook and Twitter and most of the social media. We have an active Blackboard Connect, so our kids are very active communicating with each other. And we've set up a system now where we've said, okay, for our district has modeled how to use Twitter, so our teachers actually can't connect while they're at school, but they could connect at home. And we have Twitter and a Facebook account. Now we've moved into, once teachers have done a short tutorial on how to safely and effectively use Twitter and Facebook, we can give them social media access and release their username and ID in our district so that then they can use it. I'm interested to hear how other districts are going that arena. And it is because we've had some pretty bad lawsuits in our state, in Colorado. You probably heard of Twitter Bear, maybe not. She tweeted out during her classroom about the drugs she had in school and the drug busts that were going to school, posted inappropriate pictures of herself, which then most of Colorado locked down everything pretty tight after that. Right, because of one person. But I'm interested to hear how other districts have handled the training of their teachers to teach them how to safely and appropriately use it. That's a step that we need to go to, and we've been doing it, but it feels a little cumbersome to me, and I'd like to hear how other districts are handling that.
Well, isn't it great that if there was no Twitter, she would still be teaching?
We're doing now. Our district's trying to have us teach teachers how to use it effectively, but they will not block it. And so we're teaching through screenshots. And when you get home, try this, or have a device and it's like, how do you expect anybody to be successful on this when you're not letting them play with it?
Twitter bulletin boards, that's a good way to start, right? Because you're teaching etiquette and you're not even online. Every grade school kid has their name on their desk when they show up, but they didn't write it and it's laminated. Why not let that be an open thing and they tweet in analog, and we teach an etiquette before they even get on Twitter? That's number one. The other thing is the kids are there already, you got to tell them that. So I want to talk to the district in a different way. That SIPA, HIPAA, none of these laws ever said that the firewall had to be mechanical, that it could be curriculum. So where's your curriculum? So let's teach. And if we can't teach kids an etiquette in our classrooms, where is it happening? So I go at a different tack. I say our responsibility is to help kids do this, to build a digital legacy that will make them a life and not ruin their life. And we've got to understand this.
I think a lot of the conversation tends to be around like reacting or teaching specifically the skills of etiquette, but I think it should also extend to actually doing that by showing kids what can be done positively. So like whether it's for literacy development or like the Civil War thing, or using affinity spaces or fan fiction sites to have students write, actually showing them something positive you can do will get them to use social media in a better way and be more responsible.
Very good.
How many teachers are really using it? I mean, seriously, how many teachers are really using it? If you unlocked it and you asked how many of you are really prepared to use it?
I would train,
How many would really
I would train every single teacher on my campus because of the value that I've learned from it. Right now, I would say there are 2 on our campus of 60 teachers that would use it if I opened it right now.
2 and 60.
Because 2 of us are using it at home, but we're also bringing our devices to school. And like I use it within my 5th grade class. We use Twitter all the time. We have a class Twitter account. It's blocked at school, so I put it underneath the document camera, and we tweet from my phone, and we talk about social media and all that. And because they can't get on it, I don't give accounts to them. We don't do all that stuff.
But do you think that the teachers that you have in your building really understand the, again, I want back to the definition. Do you think they really understand what social media is and what it can do?
I don't think they understand
how do we change that conversation?
They get to the point where they say, I don't care because the school's going to block it. Why do I need to learn it?
No, but they have to see it in action.
You know what, we have so many teachers.
We got somebody over here.
Thank you. I am not a teacher. I was. I taught 4th grade for 7 years. I'm now a network administrator who manages the mechanical firewall. And my orders come down from the top, so they come down from the principal. Okay. This is absolutely fascinating. Todd, you talked about somebody else talked about branding, and you said anything called social media is fly. The problem is it's branded social media. Call it something different. Collaborative opportunity. I can't, we got a lot of minds here. Let's come up with a different acronym.
That's a good one.
And don't call it social media. The social media calls it social media. The news calls it social media. The networks call it social media. Call it something else.
It's successful because they call it social.
This is very good.
Everything's a clinic. I'm trying to teach you, right?
Part of the reason why Edmodo is able to do it are some of the other platforms because of there's a lot of inappropriate content on these networks. That's why they're blocked, right? So do we have alternative networks like Edmodo that we use, or
we have YouTube. I'm not saying we have Corner Open, and we allow YouTube. We have a safe search on YouTube. So
yeah, YouTube for schools.
We have YouTube. Yeah.
Some of our districts are afraid of connecting to the outside, but they want to get their kids connecting internally. That's why I do a lot of work with people. We're starting to do some work with Mahara as well, so they can have that kind of, you can have open forums, you can have places where the kids can talk. It's not Facebook, it's not Twitter, but at least it's a controlled environment, and since you're hosting it locally, you have ownership over it, you don't have to worry about strangers, and you can bring people in. So if I wanted to connect to a class in California, I'll give them accounts on our site, and then they can connect. They can have those different.
And I love Edmodo for teaching that digital literacy at first, and that teaching all that. But then it gets to the point, especially with the older kids, where they are totally checked out when you mention Edmodo, Moodle, any of these, because they go, I'm never going to use that once I leave here at 3:30. So why are you making me use that now? So there's very positives of having that, because I see, like with my fifth graders, of being able to teach them and how to use it. But at the same time, we have the older kids who are great, we can teach them, but they're not going to use it at all, because that's what happened with our high school students. They're not using it.
I disagree with that. I totally disagree with that, because I have students that they're on the bus, they're doing their work on Moodle, and then the best part was when a high school lit class came back, and it was the first online course that I did at a high school, on Thanksgiving weekend, well, the kids come back into the high school, and I still remember a bunch of kids coming over to us and thanking us. High school kids, now college students coming over and saying, thank you so much. And we're like, why are you thanking us? Like, because we had a step above all the other kids in college. We already knew how to manage ourselves, manage our time, and they were so appreciative of that opportunity that they convinced other teachers to start doing it.
And I'm not saying to get rid of it. I think it is needed in education, but I think both aspects are needed. I think we need to have that Moodle, because I use that Moodle and I love it, and for getting it, sharing stuff and everything. But I think we also need to be hitting that social media aspect of the exact tool that they're going to be using, like Instagram and Facebook, and so we can teach that in addition to an educational world of where it looks.
One of the things that makes me crazy is the people that complain the biggest about, oh, we got to filter this and we got to filter that. Okay, when your children do research at school, what is their search engine? Google, right? And according to however the filter is built at your school is going to be what comes up in their searches. I get the most inappropriate things when my kids are searching using Google, unless I teach them how to use the advanced search. And most teachers either have never learned how to do the advanced search, or they don't care to learn how to do the advanced search, and they aren't teaching their children how to do that. So I told my kids, do something, what are the steps when something inappropriate pops up? Do we have a, oh, let's go see this? No, you shut it down, you move on to something else. Again, it's that teachable moment when something happens. We've got to teach them how to, YouTube. I love YouTube, but those video thingies that come up at the end of the one that you want, those are some pretty yucky YouTube sometimes. But you have to know again how to block them.
But the other thing, Paul, is what we started doing is senior papers. Students have to write a senior paper. We started putting in one class period where we go in and we teach the kids search engine skills, and then we also give them a worksheet that they fill out as to whether or not it's a credible website. So there's certain content that they have to fill out. And you know what? Our feeling is they give that in with the senior paper.
Right?
Exactly. But what we do is they have to scan that in with their senior paper. So this way, if there is something on the website that's inaccurate, at least they can say we took the steps, we looked at what type of ads were on it, we looked at if there was an address, and we actually do. We pull up bogus websites, we have them look at them and evaluate them. And some of them are really good, and sometimes they're going to get fake information, but at least by having that document
content in with their senior paper, we know that they've evaluated the website to the best of their ability, and we taught them how to structure them.
So they're not dating French models in their own right?
I think the question I'd like to pose now is how do we deal, because we started with open environment. Then someone from the senior kids started posting a video of bullying another student. So the principal said, no more YouTube, locked. Okay, dark ages. So how do we handle this kind of, because we know how to promote literacy or in terms of safe searching or doing this, but then we have access at home and things like that. So and we know that we have to educate our parents and things like that. But then when it comes to a level of, we can't really control everything. So I'd like to know, is there any policy that you have done in your school where it has been successful enough that it has been it's an open environment, but there is something that...
Still fighting the battle. Still fighting the battle.
I know.
So I'll just say we faced that. When I was director of technology, we worked with schools, and basically we kept everything open, but we did a lot of training beforehand. It was training for parents, it was training for the teachers, and it was training for the kids. And instead of training, we did a lot more modeling. So I would put up a Twitter feed, and I would ask a question, and yeah, my network is larger than someone just starting, but at the same point, the benefit was so clear to both teachers, parents, and the administrators that it was instantaneously seen as a powerful tool as opposed to a threat. And when things happened inappropriately, we had a responsible use policy. And if you go online and ask on Twitter for the responsible use policies, I'm sure Jerry has a page for it. So the reality is there are repercussions. The same as in the real world, if you do something that is horrible, you will have repercussions. And I saw a video on that today. Lisa Nielsen put out something about a kid who has now a sex, she's listed as a sex predator.
So sex offender.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically a crazy story. You should definitely check it out. But anyway, we had a breakdown of what would happen to you if you broke some of these quote rules. And the rules were not crazy. Facebook was open, YouTube, and guess how many problems we had? Over 18 schools. Two in 3 years, and we dealt with them. And we dealt with them through education and training as opposed to by blocking and banning. And I think that that's really what we have to do more, is more modeling and more showing these kids how it's used.
Yeah. And I want to piggyback on something Paula said about using mistakes as teaching opportunities.
Yes.
Because quite frankly, I would rather kids make those mistakes and learn from them while they're still young than have them make those mistakes when they're in college or an adult and have them get fired or arrested or unable to find a job because their digital footprint is trashed.
Absolutely.
Now is the time when we need to be teaching kids, and they will make mistakes. But I mean, we all make mistakes, but if you use it as a teaching opportunity to help show them why it was a mistake and what they can do better next time and how to be reflective and think before they post, then hopefully they're not going to make those mistakes.
It's like getting back to Kevin Honeycutt's analogy of playground.
Yeah.
Okay? When you're little and you're getting out on the swing and whatever, what are the chances that you're going to fall off the swing and get hurt, right? A lot greater. But somebody's there helping you, teaching you, supporting you while you're learning how to swing on the swing. And then eventually you get to the point where you don't fall off the swing anymore, hopefully. Same thing.
Kids need somebody there. Kids behave differently on the swing set when there's an adult standing there than they do when there's not an adult standing there. And so, how many of you are on Vine? Right? So, a year ago, my students were impressed that I was on Instagram, and now they're all on Vine. So I got on Vine, and they went, "What are you doing here?" And suddenly, I didn't follow them. I just let them know that I could see their stuff if I wanted to. And they're like, "Oh, we're going to think now before we post stuff."
Well, and you brought up a very good point. You can see what they're posting when you want to, because a lot of people forget about that. Even outside of education, in the real world, us adults, we post a lot of stuff that you wouldn't tell your mom, or you wouldn't want your mom to know that you posted that. So hence what she said, think before you post. So that's a very good point. Yes, sir.
You brought up actually the perfect segue into it. The real world. It's the most offensive term I can imagine, because the real world should be in our schools. And when we block any of the stuff,
that's not the real world.
We ruin that, and we say what you do here today is irrelevant to your life. So that is where we've won. we created a hashtag about 3 years ago, ST36Learn, that as teachers we've modeled and pushed out. And we have about 300 teachers out of 5,000 that are probably actively engaged with that. We've done a lot of things, no formal training whatsoever. It's all been modeling and one-on-one and just stuff going along. And there's been not a single problem that I know of on our Twitter within the district. And we now have teachers create class Twitter accounts, because under 13 we can't have the Twitter accounts anyway. So we do it that way, and the students go in and they do the initials, the parents follow them. We use it in educationally sound ways so that they realize the right way of doing things, and they don't get caught up in the other ways. And there are problems. We have one happened recently on Facebook where they made a racial comment and the entire community attacked her. And she can't actually go back to that school now because of her comment. Well, yeah, that's reality. When you say something that's really racial or really bad, you're going to have your community upset with you. So she learned a valuable lesson in dealing with that, and there are consequences to our actions, but we have to live reality in our schools, and they're going to go home to that reality, and we want them to have it be the same. And Edmodo's good for a teacher getting comfortable with it and working into that, but then moving out to the other, where we are in the outside world. And I use the term inside and outside world to have a differentiation between the two, but I think that's critical to where we fit with it.
There is an opportunity for us to really learn, where we understand that by our mistakes we actually do learn. I think that that's when we'll see deep learning from our kids around how do we be socially responsive and have digital citizenry towards this real life situation. I think that becomes important.
You know, there's something else I think we should also step back for a second, and there's something else that I usually do with students, high school students, and I've done this with honor students, and I'm telling you, every time I do it, even today, you're amazed at the results. So we're talking about social media, we're talking about Facebook, we're talking about Twitter, but we need to go back to the beginning, and we need to talk about email, and we need to talk about user accounts. Because these kids, they're good friends, and I'm not in today, use my user account, I got locked out for whatever reason. So what I do all the time is I go into AP these are honor students, seniors, and I stand up there and I talk about how, you know, Paula and I are best friends, so we share everything. We share clothes, we share books, we share everything. Except for when it comes to boyfriends. Okay? Paula likes my man. We got into a fight, right? And I do this right in front of the kids. We got into a fight. And you know what? Paula knew my username and password. And Paula sent a bomb threat to the President of the United States. And guess what? Whose house are they showing up at? Paula's house or my house? My house. So we start talking about this, and we take it down to the level. You know, we send a letter to the principal about something under someone else's account, and what happens? You would be amazed at the number of high school seniors, honor students that come over to me at the end of the class. You know, how do I change my account? How do I change my password? What do I do now? You need this. So I think that we need to step back before we even talk about some of these other pieces. That's something that they need to understand. The concept of sharing, having a username and password that's generic in all the elementary schools, where it's your first initials and the teacher's last name, because everyone knows it. They need to learn. They need to learn that piece of privacy. They need to have the boundaries. They need to learn that before you even start talking about these other pieces.
I think, just real fast on that, I think that the key is not about making it about rules. I think it's more about I'm saying the key is not making that about rules and like repercussions. I think the key is learning about power. And that's personal, that's your personal power. This is your identity,
yeah.
And it's what you create online.
Absolutely.
It's your persona. So it's not like lending shoes, this is lending yourself.
I don't know how many of y'all seen a video that is around on the internet. It's called the Digital Dossier.
Oh, yeah.
If you get a chance to watch that video, that's the video that nails it down, because a lot of this, it actually starts when we as parents start doing the things that we do to ourselves, sharing the pictures with the family. Your account on Facebook might be for Knox Lock Security, but whoever you're sharing that with that don't have their account locked is going to leak out to everybody else. And that's the thing, like when I share something, I tell them, hey, please, I'm sharing this with you. Do not share with anybody else. Otherwise, I'll cut you off. It's that simple, you know?
I think he's got it all. Their Facebook is not as secure as they think it is. If I Facebook is blocked at our school, but at least once a year I invite a kid to come up, I unblock the filter, we log into their Facebook account, and I say, we're just going to look at your privacy settings. And we open up their privacy settings, which they've never done, and they see how much of their stuff is actually public. And I go, well, do you really want the world to be seeing all? No, I thought that was my friends only. We change all their settings. And then the next kid's like, pick me, I want to go next. I need to go change my settings. Can I do it now, please? And they all go and I change their Facebook privacy settings because no one ever showed them how before.
Yeah, but
and these are juniors in high school.
But even with the privacy setting on totally blocked off, you're a screenshot away from being public. Anything
Oh no, got it.
online is a
Exactly.
screenshot
Yeah.
away.
There you go.
So,
There you go.
They're really almost irrelevant.
There you go.
You piss off one friend, like you said, screenshot, boom, it's out. So.
I tell kids, chat, texting is as safe as how much you trust the person you're talking to forever. And girls never get in a fight and hate each other, right? So, there's one more thing I'd like to say. Some conversations are best held mouth to ear still.
Yes, most definitely.
My favorite post, call me. I don't put it in Facebook, I don't put it in text. A lot of times.
Our student responsible use policy, we actually have a line in there that says, if you would be embarrassed to have this seen by your mother, father, grandfather, or on the 6 o'clock news, don't post it online in an email, a text, a tweet, a picture, in any sort of electronic format. And I think that's even true, even though I think it's very important to teach students about privacy settings and make sure they understand. I also tell people that it doesn't matter what your privacy settings are. As you mentioned, stuff could be screenshot, reposted, forwarded. It is, once something is posted, once it's out of your hands, it is there forever.
Kids, I say don't have a secret life, because it will always come back and bite you, and it creates sociopaths and attorneys. So be the person online that you want people to think you are. And then what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? But as long as they think that they're in a grassy knoll and no one can see them, they will be snipers, you know. Anybody will, not just kids, you know.
So the first thing that everybody should do after you get out of here is go and Google yourself. That's what you have to do. And then you're going to, it's an eye-opening experience, you know, when you do that.
Do it in front of your students.
Yeah, and then you can see like, wow, is all this information really out there?
I was just going to say that right now, like, there are no experts in social media. And I think that's important because social media, it's like, who says that they're a Twitter expert in this room? You know, we all may know different levels of Twitter, but no one's an expert because it changes every day. People are reinventing how they use social media every day. And kids sometimes will know social media better than us, so why not tap them into that? So for me, it's like, it makes them comfortable with the unknown. It gives them the ability to just dive in. I think that's important to kind of embrace sometimes.
From newbies who ask me questions, and then because of the way they phrase the question, it's something I hadn't thought about, through people that have been, you know, that I mentored, that mentored me when I began on Twitter. So indefinitely, it's like every day I'm on there. I've taught for 37 years, and when I joined Twitter in 2009, I was like, I don't get this. What, you know, hello, somebody explain this to me. My head was hurting every time I got on the stream. And Beth Still, some of you might know, took me by the hand on Twitter from Nebraska and led me through the process. And through that, with having her and then a couple other people help mentor me, it changed my world. And when I say that all of the PD that I had done for all those years prior to Twitter, I could have wrapped it up and it would have taken up this much room. Now, I have more PD than I could ever hope to accomplish, so I have to pick and choose. What do I want to learn today? What is it that I need to know today to help my students do their learning better? And I go on the Twitter stream with a particular search tag or something in mind.
Modeling kids. Like when you started Twitter, you had no idea what you were doing. None of us did. We made mistakes, but we were transparent about it and we owned it. So I'm being human, I'm making mistakes, I'm diving into something unknown, uncomfortable. You have to, that's a skill you need. It's like, I need somebody who, I tell them what to do. I don't want that step-by-step telling me what to do. I need them to reinvent it, or take a chance, take initiative.
I think bottom line, we have to start early teaching citizenship, social skills. We're not doing that. get the parents involved, help them with this process as well. It's working.
One thing that I always tell my students that a lot of people don't know is that the Library of Congress, since Twitter was invented, has saved every single tweet ever tweeted out. Whether it was deleted 5 seconds after you tweeted it or not, the Library of Congress is saving all of them. So that's what I always tell my kids is, okay, you may have deleted it immediately and nobody may have screenshot it, it may never get out there again, but it's on file somewhere with the government.
Well, actually, the NSA is saving them too.
Yeah. So we always have that conversation of that's again like you can't delete anything.
I've been teaching kids as they build this digital legacy to use all social networks as funnels of opportunity and to intentionally live out loud the life that you're proud of, and that you can make amazing things come to you. If you have a macro mind, not a micro, not a self-contained, but a macro mind, this new way of thinking, you have an unfair advantage against every other human that doesn't. I mean, it's amazing. It's almost Homo sapiens versus Cro-Magnon. But we have to teach them how to do that. It's not, they're doing puberty online right now as a placeholder. I like to give kids digital placeholder behaviors, benevolent things to do until they get smart enough not to do stupid things. Save the world, do something. Dig a well in Uganda. Do something good with your time. We used to call it idle hands. But really, you know, kids need to do that because they're going to do something. Technology is too powerful not to do something, and we're not talking about it. And that's what's happening, and we've got to get in that space. And we got to tell parents that's why we're doing it, but they're going to think we're wasting time.
So what I hear you saying is you got to give them the purpose, a direction, and the motivation to actually go ahead and
let them be heroes. They have power. Let them be what they can be, you know?
Kevin, how do you respond though when kids come back with,
well, we don't want you in our space. You don't, like grown-ups, go away from our space. As soon as you come into our space, we're going to find a new space to go to.
So I'm going to tell you what I told my son. I said, I can't see it, you can't say it. If you wouldn't say it in front of me, you're saying it to everyone, you just don't know it yet. You know what I mean? Even good kids will do stupid things when no one's watching. I always say that, right? And so it's important that they know we're there. What they're doing is cultivating a secret life, you know, and that can go wrong fast. And so I think you just got to turn the lights on in all their digital places from the time they first get there. The problem is they get ahead of us and they resent our imposition, you know, that we're getting in there. So I think don't let another generation get past us. When a teacher applies for a job in my district and she has a hottie picture on her Facebook profile, we missed a generation. She had the web all to herself and it's her personal thing and there were no mentors. We can't let another generation get past us. We can't.
And I think going to the fear factor before going to the mistakes, like mistakes we can deal with, it is clear that districts see value in the social tools. Like, I find it really humorous that schools block Facebook, but yet have Facebook pages because they know how valuable a tool it is to the community. So it's using that logic as to show why it's valuable, not only to the community and to make the school's image better, but for the students as well. It's, you know, you can think of it as training wheels for the kids, but the reality is that this is really the world. You know, I love what you said before. I'm sorry, I'm quoting his but what he said was brilliant about real world and closed world. I'm complimenting you, sir, for your amazing, yeah, it's good. So, but I thought that was brilliant. It really is true. Like, this is the world that everyone's living in. They're doing it whether we're there or not. And as Kevin said, like, you know, if they're building a secret life that no one knows about, it's not secret to, it's only secret
to them.
Right, exactly. It's not closed. So I think, you know, modeling and using that system is great.
I was just going to say, I wonder if we can do like the top-down approach as well as the bottom-up approach. So I try to work with districts and show them the power of Twitter and Facebook and get them tweeting and throwing stuff up on Facebook and whatnot. So then at least they know, oh wow, I'm doing it, I can feel the power, as well as the bottom-up movement. The more we can get the districts helping, I think we can help, you know, achieve that gap. That, you know, there's just so much lack of digital citizenship, the power of what you can do with social media, and if they're doing it. So let's do that.
And a lot of teachers are doing a really good process that one of our friends who couldn't be here today, it's called paper tweeting. And a lot of schools are doing that with their kids, starting with the very young, teaching them about how to use a social media space like Twitter. So they're doing a paper tweeting thing, which is really cool. Others are really starting with blogging, teaching their kids, not only obviously blogging is so powerful, but you need to learn how to write, regardless of whatever place we're going to go into. If you're going to be, you know, a tech person, or you're going to be a doctor, or you're going to be an attorney, or you're going to be whatever, you need to know how to write. So using blogging as a launching point to teach good citizenship comes out when you teach your kids how to comment And so one of the powerful things that a lot of teachers use is comments for kids, hashtag comments for kids, where kids are taught what is the appropriate way to comment and what is not. And it's done, as Paula knows, in a safe walled garden where a teacher can monitor what those comments look like and really have discussions around, you know, was this an appropriate comment that you made on your friend's blog post? So I think there's two really powerful things that teachers are doing locally to help their kids from the early stages get ready to launch into social media spaces.
Yes, doing them analog, you know, doing it in an analog situation, like when I do blogging, we start with a paper blogging activity. Have any of you ever done paper blogging? Okay. Those of you that haven't, you go out and buy some pretty paper. You have the kids create what looks like a blog post. You know, demonstrate some blog posts for them. They write their blog on this paper. Then you do a gallery walk. Everybody's blog post is laying out on the table, and you have sticky notes next to everyone. And the people who are commenting comment on the sticky notes, stick it on the side of the paper. Talk about an awesome display too.
Well, that actually goes beyond blogging, because that's actually storyboarding 101.
It's just an awesome way. I've done it with my students and my teachers when I'm trying to get into blogging.
When we do that, we do something similar, but we print out a design that looks like a template of what you would see if you were to blog online.
That's cool.
We have to fill in a title and all that, but I love the sticky notes. That's
you put the blog up and all the colorful sticky notes are hanging around it. Just Google paper blogging, and you'll get lots of articles. Yeah, you got a page for that.
The Cyberman has a page for that. Well,
no, it's on my blog site.
It's 11:58 now. If nobody else has anything, I guess that about wraps it up. It was nice to be here and hear everybody with their thoughts. I'll be editing this later on, depending on how late I stay up tonight. And no, I won't be tweeting about that, so you can forget about it. And I'll put the video on my YouTube channel so you can go see it, okay?